Hi there, Sandy here. Welcome to another polymer clay video at keepsakecrafts.net. Today I'm going to show you a really fun technique that you can do with any of your polymer clay scraps and then use it as a veneer or to make beads or anything you like. So this technique starts, like I said, by using your polymer clay scraps. And this is how I organize my scraps. It's by color. I have another bin with different colors, pinks and purples and such. But the one I've decided to do today, I'm going to show you how to make one that's blues and greens. But choose any color you like. And so I just dug through my scrap bin, and you want to pull out some lights, some darks, a variety of colors. So a green blue and a light green and a bright green. I also like to throw in some metallics. And this is the mix I ended up choosing. Like I said, some darks, some lights, some metallic, some pearl. I think this is a bit of a cane that had translucent in it. So a whole variety of greens and blues that will blend together nicely to make a great pattern. So the first thing you need to do is take all of your pieces and run them through the pasta machine to condition them. And here are all my pieces conditioned. And now I'm just going to stack them up. And I'm going to kind of put contrasting colors. So I may put colors that will stand out next to each other, but I'm not overly worried about it at all. I'm just gonna make a stack. The next thing is to take your acrylic roller and just flatten out this stack a bit. And then I'm going to cut it about in half. Stack them up again, keeping them going the same way. Otherwise I'll be meeting like to like. I don't want to do that. Stack them up again. Roll it out a bit, and now I'm going to cut this the long way. So you'll have 4 layers of each of your colors, and the reason I did this the long way is because my next step is to shape this into a bit of a log. So I'm going to roll it out. Well, my tile's 6 inches, so about 6 inches long. And you can see all those little tiny scraps actually make a fair amount of clay. And then you just start twisting it. And once you have it twisted, go ahead and roll over it with your acrylic roller again, just to start to flatten it. And once I have it thin enough, I'm going to send it through my pasta machine on the thickest setting. So here's my sheet after being rolled through the pasta machine, and you can see that I'm getting these stripes, but I definitely want more subtle striping than this. So I'm going to fold it in half, and I'll probably, instead of trying to match up those stripes, I'll offset them a little bit. And then send it through your pasta machine again, fold first. And here it is after another roll through the pasta machine. And now the stripes, you can see, are much more subtle. If there's one side that you like better than the other, then have that side on the outside. And I'm going to do just one more fold here and roll through the pasta machine. And here it is. Now my stripes are nice and subtle. I kind of like that. Now I'm going to roll this through the pasta machine. The thickest setting on mine is a 1, so I'm going to roll it on a 3. I don't want it much thinner than that. Now I'm just going to take a moment and trim off some of these ends that don't look so good. You could save those and use them later. And then I'm going to make a cut somewhere around a 45-degree angle to the stripes. It doesn't have to be exact, but the less steep you make it, the less sharp your design will be in your pattern clay. So since there's already an angle over here, I'm going to just cut that angle. And then I'm going to continue to cut strips of clay somewhere around 1/4 of an inch thick. This doesn't have to be precise, but it's good to have a nice sturdy blade that will stay straight. So don't use your flexible blade for this. It's better to have straight strips. So here's my piece with all of the strips cut, and now I have another tile to work on, and I'm just going to pick up a piece and lay it down. And if you see the lumps in my clay, I wondered if this would be a problem. Some of my scrap clay, here it is, it has opal clay, which are flecks of some kind of little shiny plastic to make it opalescent looking, and that's the lumpy bits. But I don't think I'm going to let that bother me. So I'm going to just try to make this first one nice and straight. And now, this is where your angles come into play. We're going to flip it over. Now you may not have areas that match exactly when you flip it over, because you'll have to use the other side. But what you can try to do is find areas that you're going to match across the whole piece. So like this blue to this blue, and this one to this, and this to this. I'll just match every time. And you can see why you don't want to make these too thin, or they're just impossible to pick up without distorting. And then, let's see. And if they don't match at all, that's okay too. It will look good in the end. And if you're having trouble making it straight, I might put that sharp side down. Just use your blade. It'll help you nudge them into place. So every other one gets flipped over. Butt them nice and tight up against the other piece. So now I've reassembled my clay sheet, but it looks quite different and really quite interesting. And I may not have lined things up perfectly down there, but it really, in the long run, doesn't matter. So now you just need to take your acrylic roller and try to meld them together. You don't want to flatten it too much because you'll end up distorting your piece, but you do want to sort of meld those seams together. They will be visible in the final product unless you roll it through the pasta machine so much that the design gets really stretched out of shape. So that's just part of this design, is that you see those lines that you cut. And so here it is, and you can do all sorts of things with this. Here's some I made earlier out of purples and reds, and I have some gold and some other metallics in there. I just love the way they look. And I've just started to cover an Altoids tin with that. And here's a ring. Here's a ring just like it. And so I picked a spot on the sheet that I liked and basically used the ring as a cutter to cut that section out and baked it. And then I cut a strip, sort of like this, and then wrapped it around so I get that zigzag. But you can see on this case I tried to keep my zigzag pattern intact. And if this seems a little thin, you can take some of those scraps and some other scrap clay, maybe some of the edging trimmings, roll them out into a sheet, use your clay blade to lift that up and put it all on a solid sheet. That will help keep it all together and give it a little bit more thickness. So you can really do with this whatever you like. I've got some leftover bits of my purple sheet. Here's a bead that I made. So have fun coming up with things that you can use this veneer on to enhance your polymer clay work and add some interest to the background. For these, I'll probably add some sculpted floral accents is what I have in mind. So if you're interested in the supplies I used, there's a link in the upper right and the description box to go to my blog post. If you like my videos, give a thumbs up, share, and subscribe if you want to see more. I upload new tutorials every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you've benefited from these videos, consider becoming a patron. You can support this channel with $1 a month or whatever you can afford. See my Patreon page for details. Happy creating. Bye-bye.